This is light work. Come on, spill the tea, yeah.
Hey y'all.
What's good?
I'm Laura.
And I'm Dee. And welcome to Spill the Tea with Laura and Dee.
What's our question today?
I'm glad you asked. Our Candid Convo for today is the equity illusion. Why your home isn't worth what you think it is.
2020.
Right. Right.
I think that's a great question because I think there's a lot of sellers who are currently sitting on the market and they're trying to figure out why their home hasn't sold.
There's a lot of inventory just sitting.
There is. So for the first time in 12 years, so in over a decade, there's more inventory than buyers. Buyers finally have the upper hand in the market.
Right.
Right? And so
we're in a buyer's market condition-wise
almost.
now. Almost.
Almost.
Got it.
So the realtor definition of a buyer's market is a neutral market is 5 to 7 and a seller's market is 0 to 5. We in Atlanta are at 4.7 months worth of inventory, so we're about to hit the neutral market line. What I have found in my 10 years of selling real estate is anytime we bump up to 3 months or more here in the Atlanta market, now other markets may see this a little bit different, but here in the Atlanta market, we start to transition to a little bit more of a neutral market at 3 months. Right? Because the amount of buyers that come in, and I guess just as fast as our inventory moves and as fast as those buyers move, they start to see a little bit more ability to negotiate. Okay? So if you're looking at your home values today, and for this conversation, I went back all the way to 1980. Just because I think that the data is there, right? There's enough data online from 1980, whereas if you go back further than that, you start to get a little bit less data, so it starts being not maybe totally correct, because all of the info is there, and I usually don't go back that far, but if you go back to 1980, from 1980 to 2020, we have seen an average rate of growth nationally at 4%. If you go back to 2000, you go up to about 6%, right? Because once we kicked into 2000, we started seeing home values rise a little bit. We had a little bit of a dip in the crash in 08, right? Between 05 and 08, 09, but that's kind of it, right? Other than that, the real estate market has cyclically gone up and up and up 4% year over year since 1980.
Right.
When you look at home values from 2020 to 2025, they went up almost 50%. Like, that's crazy, right? And so when you break that down into what percent did the home value increase year over year from 2020 to 2025, it's 12%. Like, you're sitting on 8% a year more than what your home value should be. Right? So as a buyer, take yourself out of the seller's place and put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Do you really want to pay $100,000 today more than what the home really, really, really should be worth? Right? Like, stop being greedy, Mr. Seller. You're not losing anything. All you're doing is giving up equity to sell your home that you didn't really earn in the first place.
So when you kind of break it down that way, like when we kind of talk about, because I think what a lot of people right now are kind of talking about, is there a correction? Is this what we're doing? Is
Correct. This is the correction. There's $100,000 that your house could correct.
Right, and it's
if you're a median price point.
If you think about that 4% average, to your point, from 2020 to 2025, where we're at now, with that being so much higher, what we would expect to see is between 2020 and 2025, that same year over year, 4% increase.
Correct.
So that's really going to be more in line with what you would expect.
What your home value actually is.
And if we have a market correction from that, then it's like, okay, well, then it's even further down.
So if we go below the 100,000, that's when we start to crash. Anything between 0 and 100,000 for the median sales price, and I open my computer because I want to walk you guys through some numbers. That's just a correction. Right? We're just correcting an overinflated market. Losing $100,000 may feel like a crash. Right? I've had some heart palpitations. Like, my house value went from in the 8s to back down into the 7s. Right? Like, I was ready to put a for sale sign in my yard not too long ago. I mean, we just made that much money because we bought in 2019. Right? So here's some numbers. The median sales price, and I just did 300,000 because it was an even number. That was very close to our median sales price. It was a little bit under that is on a national average in 2020. If it was a $300,000 house in 2020, in 2021, you should have sold that house based on normal national growth for $312,000. People were getting $334 more, right? So I know that feels great, but you gained an extra $12,000 that you didn't actually earn in owning the house.
Right. And I feel like one thing that we also maybe don't really realize is, so while historically real estate prices have always continued to rise, I feel like we've had a half a decade's period wherein people have really just sat down and looked at relooked at their lives, right? During the COVID period, it was like you couldn't really interact with people, so people were forced to look.
Everybody reevaluated.
Right. And so it's like you had a situation where other markets were benefiting from individuals leaving higher markets.
So Atlanta's one of those markets,
Exactly.
right? Which has saved us a bit in this correction. Because if you got your house in 2020 for $300,000, in 2025 you want to list it. What feels good is $460. That's the number that you and your agent, right? Like I've got a house across the street from me. It's listed at $800,000. I'm like, oh my God, please be listed at $690. That's where you need to be all day long, right? Like that's really where you need to be all day long. And he probably could get over $800,000 if the home was renovated. I mean, we have comps as high as $830 or $840 in our neighborhood,
Right.
and that house was renovated, so his house is not. But if you look at that $300,000 house from 2020 to 2024, you have almost $100,000 to play with. Now here's the kicker: the sellers that are understanding this, right? That they understand that this $107,000 is actually not earned equity. It's really just a gift.
It's like
right?
phantom
It's
equity.
phantom money, like what we're buying our house with. It's fake money, right? What is moving, at least here in the Atlanta market, is these sellers who realize that this $107,000 is not really money. It's not really theirs. They didn't really earn it, and who are willing to give up about 8%, right? You take this $460 and bump that down 8%, maybe 10%. That's all the buyers are asking you to give up.
Right.
They're not asking you to give up all of this overinflated price. They don't even care about
Right.
2/3 of it.
Right.
They're asking you to give up 1 year of overinflated equity. And if you'll do that, what's really cool is if you will get into that right price point, right? If you'll back out some of that overinflated equity, the buyers are out there. And you go from putting yourself as a seller in this market where you're overinflated and you're emotionally attached to money you don't have, that you didn't earn, right? I get it. I'm emotionally attached to mine too. It's not that it's common, but you're emotionally attached to this money. And the ones that aren't, the ones that really can see this, they're selling their home. And what's crazy is with the new conversation of buyer's agent compensation kind of being on the table as to who pays for it at closing.
Right.
Not that your buyer's agent compensation should ever be on the table.
Right.
Don't
It's just
misunderstand
who
that.
pays for
But who
it
pays
at the
for it is
closing
not
date.
right.
Because it used to always be the seller.
The seller.
That's right. Because they were the one receiving the proceeds, so it make no sense.
Correct. In today's market, it still may be the seller at a high level, but by pricing your home with this depreciation here, right, kind of coming in, depreciation is not the right word, but with this correction coming in, they are not paying the full 3%.
Right.
Right? I've only had 2 sellers all year pay the full 3%. And those sellers, we started a little high just because they were uncomfortable with looking at these numbers here, right? Those sellers ended up paying more in closing costs. So by pricing your home right, you're getting closer to your list price. Most sellers right now are seeing 93% or less of list price. In addition to the sales price being 93% less of list price, there's your 8% right there. The market corrects it.
Right.
There's your 8% right there. The market
Right.
has corrected it. The market, homes that are selling about 93% less than what they're listed for. So price it there originally and then make the buyers compete. There's still 7 million buyers that want to buy houses.
Right.
There's still 2 and 3 years worth of first-time home buyers that just didn't get to yet. Right.
So, you know those like mind-numbing calculations that I go through?
Yeah, the ones that make me cry
So
and us fight.
yeah, right. It's funny because like that number that we're kind of talking about right now, in my calculations, I always label that a margin of error.
You have $107,000 margin of error right now,
Oh my
sellers.
gosh.
Fix it.
Right, which is wild.
Right? Be
Because like
excited.
the margin of error doesn't really get that large until you get to like 7-figure homes, and we're not talking about
No, we're talking about
homes.
$300,000, $400,000.
Right.
The median price point nationally right now, depending on who you ask, whether it's Redfin, whether it's Zillow, whether it's NAR, National Association of Realtors, is somewhere between about $410 and $460, which is right where this overinflated price is, y'all.
Right.
Like nobody's buying those houses right now.
Right.
When we're running comps, I can't look back 6 months because the market 6 months ago was way better for a seller. A seller was getting more
Oh, absolutely.
of this 100,000
Oh,
6
I
months
believe
ago.
that.
Right?
It was wild. There was summertime sales. It was pre-summertime
Well,
sales.
lower
this year.
interest rates.
Oh, yeah.
March had lower interest rates. We had President-elect lowered the interest rates as normal. Historical fact that happens almost every time. I think it's 9 out of the last
it's
11.
Wild because like right before the president-elect, everybody's really nervous. Like,
Correct.
I don't want to buy a house.
Correct.
And it's like, no, they're going to lower the interest rates. Just buy the damn house.
Best time to buy. Best time to buy, right? Well, if you're a seller right now and you're frustrated in this market, working with a realtor who just looks at 6 months worth of comps probably isn't going to be able to get you into that number that's going to create a feeding frenzy and create buyers to want to compete for your home, right? Because they're as emotionally attached to that overinflation because $100,000 overinflation, and that's for a $300,000 house. We sell $1 million houses all day long.
Right.
That's $250,000 worth of overinflation, right? Those agents don't want to tell you that. One, because they want your listing, and two, they want to believe their salary is still that high.
Right.
There's emotional attachment for them there too.
I feel like what that does as well is like even on the like smaller scale, with that variance being that large, it's like on a smaller scale, like $100,000 home, that's like a $40,000 swing almost, and it's like $40,000 for somebody buying a house that's $100,000.
They can't.
Makes or breaks their budget.
They can't.
Right. That's like $40,000. Thought I was going to be a homeowner, right?
Right. So
unless they're buying the houses we're buying.
Well, but you can't live in those.
Then at that point, right.
You can't get a conventional regular loan.
Right. You can try and get one of those FHA ones.
No, they don't even you gotta be able to live in there to get a loan, right? If you want to sell your house, understand the current market conditions, understand more than just what are homes selling for. Right. How many buyers are in your market? How many homes are for sale in your market? How do you make your home the best in the cluster of homes that compete with you? How far out will your buyers look? The buyers looking at your house, are you competing with homes 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away? Like, what drives a buyer to your location? Is it school? If it's a school district, most of the time a buyer's not looking outside of homes that compete directly with you. Right? If it's not a school district, if you're in an area where schools say aren't that great, it could be two houses, two different school districts sell for the same amount. One school district's a little bit better, but those homes are closer to shopping and restaurants and entertainment and things that people want to be close to. And so pricing your home more than ever, right? More than ever, it is important to understand every layer of the real estate market that has an impact on that home price and on how buyers react.
Right.
And then number two, oh my God, I'm starting to see less and less and less professional pictures.
What was it? Going back to our pre-conversation about the stupid agents.
Less staging.
Virtual staging, I feel like has made it lazy. It's like, oh, I don't need to stage this. It's virtually staged.
A lot of people are moving before they can sell their house right now because those of us that have to move may not have a choice. So as a realtor, we are seeing, and for me, I see a bunch of properties that are in probate.
That than these crappy ass photos that have everybody's stuff already in
there
them.
You go.
And
so
it's just I can't imagine myself in it because you're in it.
You just hammered the nail literally in the coffin. I can't imagine myself in it because you're in it.
Yes.
And that's number two, right? So understanding your market data and then understanding how to market. I was trying to comp houses yesterday and I was like, I can't. I actually can't do my job because none of you dingle dicks did yours.
Right.
I can't tell if your walls need to be painted because you have so much crap and shit in front of them that I can't see them in the pictures.
Right. Which then also starts to tell you, okay, well, is it dirty? Is it dirty in there? Are they going to clean it before?
No, I can tell you the answer to that. No, nobody cleans their house before. They say they do, but they don't clean it. So having this very robust system to needle down to that right number, it's a starting point number. It's not perfect, right? Remember, we're guessing. Right. We're assuming your market of buyers will negotiate at 8% below this overinflated price. Right. Not every market is at that number. Not every market is okay with that, right? The secondary part of that is having a very robust marketing campaign. Understand what the consumer in your market expects to see in that marketing campaign. Do they expect video, right? I get a ton of traction on Be Real. We love to use a currently listed homes video as our Be Real because a lot of times it's not the house that stops, it's what I'm saying that stops people. And I'll get a private message, hey, I saw you were in a house in this, is this for sale? Or tell me about that house, right? Where'd you get that video from? And so there's ways, correct. So there's ways to market your home without sticking a sign that says this house is for sale. And it all has to work cohesively right now. The pricing, the data, the marketing, the motivation, all of those things have to be cohesive for a seller to sell right now.
Right. One thing that I used to do when I would look at houses, especially just really quick to basically I was always talking to an investor and they were trying to tell me how much a house was worth and I'd be like, okay, let me shut this guy down, right?
Let me tell you how much it's not worth.
Right. And it's they would use comps and they would look like a mile out, a mile and a half, yada, yada, yada. And I'd be like, okay, well, you're talking to an investor, right? You're an investor.
Right.
I want to look at the stuff that's sold in this neighborhood. And so what I would do is I would just go to Zillow because they have this interesting feature on the app. You can do it on the computer now, but for a while you couldn't. And you could like click on it and it shows you the lot lines and it shows you like all the houses that have sold in the past like 2 to 3, 4 year period. What I would do is look to find all of the houses that are similar to what I would fix the house up for. That's kind of a number I would use as a starting point. And it was always much less than what they were.
Well,
what
they want you
using.
to borrow more of their money. And a lot of times they want you to bail somebody out of a project who got stuck that borrowed their money.
Of course, right? I would take whatever like number I would get from that from a prior period, and then I would apply that. I'm gonna change it to 4% now, but I would apply that 6%, right? And then from there, I'd say, okay, even if you took this house that sold in 22, it's now 24.
Right.
What would it look like 4% year over year? Nah, it's wild.
It's crazy. So sellers, I'm speaking to each of you very, very directly. If you want to sell your house, understand how much overinflation you have, because if you can actually see that, it doesn't feel like a loss. When you close it, it truly should feel like a gain, right? If you're sticking 80 grand in your pocket that you really shouldn't have, not sticking 100 grand shouldn't feel bad. Right. Sticking 80 grand in there should feel good, right? And that'll get you to the closing table. And it's a lot less painful. You're not on market for 120 days. You're not like, oh my God, I just gave away $20,000 more in concessions, plus I'm paying the buyer's agent compensation, right? Those moments go away.
Right. You know what time it is?
What time is it?
Time for question quickies.
What are our questions today?
How much should I budget for closing costs, specifically as a percentage of home purchase price?
So that's a really good question. I like all of my clients in a perfect world to have 10% of their budget that they want to spend. So
that covers like 6% for the realtor, 1% for the title, and then any small little closing stuff.
No, not at all. So we're talking about closing costs for the buyer, right? So buyer's agent's only going to get 3%. That's not actually built in that 10%. Okay? So what that 10% covers, most of the time your lender is going to tell you that your closing cost is 6%. What we see on average is closer to 4.5% as far as closing cost goes. But I like to see that extra 2% because a lot of times when you buy a home, something goes wrong.
You need a little extra cash.
You need the cash, right?
Right. And you don't want to be calling all your neighbors and your friends and I'll do it, but
you don't want to, right? It's better if you have a little bit of cash in your bank account. And then if you're going FHA, which is your easiest loan to acquire, based on what your standards have to be as far as a borrower goes, you need 3.5%.
Which you've told me that has started to change here recently with conventional kind of stepping up.
Correct. Well, conventional stepping up with a lot of zero down options.
Go for conventional.
I know. And I think you're going to see that more and more and more. I'm interested to see how the landscape of real estate and the lending world changes I'm not.
Because in 2000, the reason we had those inflated prices was because of the lending practices. Now, I know they weren't the greatest, and I'm sure we're tightening up. Well, yeah, interest rates did not help in that situation.
Right, that was
but they're
all
also,
interest rates.
and they've also tightened up on like a lot of their procedures. But I just hear zero down, I hear negative equity, and I start to think about that margin of error. And then the folks that go to sell in a negative margin of error where they're like 20,000 backwards, 10,000 backwards, 5,000 backwards, and the closing attorney's basically telling them we can't close unless you bring $6,000 to the table.
Yep. So I do think that will be something that we see more often, where with 100% down, we might see more sellers get in a position where they can't sell as quickly, right? So right now, kind of your break even is 2.5 to 3 years, right? Like if you're going to sell, you put your 5% down for conventional, your 3%, 3.5% down for FHA. You stay in the house for 2 to 3 years, you are normally going to be able to sell that house, put a little bit of cash in your pocket, maybe not a ton, put a little bit of cash in your pocket and pay all the fees, all the bills, all the things that are associated with selling a home. So you take that 2 to 3 year time period and you're going to increase it by probably 2 years.
Right.
And so your safe selling period will become 4 to 5 is what's going to happen with the...
So people will just stay in their houses longer.
They'll stay in their houses longer, maybe. So the average...
Or we'll see foreclosures.
So we have seen foreclosures start to come up.
We may see
some more short sales. I think what we're seeing in the foreclosure market right now, a couple years ago when the interest rates started to kind of
the
bounce.
pent up from the...
Well, we saw a lot of 2-1 buy downs.
No,
No, the moratoriums are over. That's passed.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we saw a lot of 2-1 buy downs 2 years ago starting. And as a realtor, it's great if you can get two points bought down on the first year and 1 point bought down on the second year, but then your client's mortgage goes up on year 3. It is way better. That's what a 2-1 buy down is. You buy 2 points the first year and 1 the second.
No wonder you don't recommend those.
I recommend them if you're very comfortable with
it going back up.
It going back up, and if your intention is to pay the original loan price anyway, and you're taking that 2-1 buy down to buy down equity to get out of the house faster. Does that make sense? So if your payment's like $1,500, you do a 2-1 buy down in year 2, it's $1,300.
Yeah, because it reminds me of like a 7-year arm, but it's like a 7-year arm. Like I've never seen anybody.
Don't ever do that. Don't have an adjustable rate in 7 years. That's totally different. A 2-1 buy down, the rate, if your rate is 7% at the beginning of the loan, the seller is just paying 2 points of that for year 1 and 1 point for year 2. So they're prepaying the interest to the lender.
Okay, so like instead of like a 10% interest rate for the first year, it would be 8, and then the second year it would be 9,
and then it would go up to 10. So my suggestion for a client, if they're doing a 2-1 buy down, is make sure you can afford the 10. 10's too high. I mean, obviously,
or
like
that you're
7.
selling when the 10 comes.
If you pay the 7%, like the full percent from day 1, that $200 that you're paying extra goes to principal, right? So you're lowering your principal a little bit more aggressively in year 1 and year 2 because you're staying with the $1,500 payment.
Got it.
You're not taking advantage of the $1,300 payment.
Okay, got it.
The second option is a point buy down. So you can buy the entire loan down by a point at closing, usually on most loans, and this is what my buyers and I do. What that equates to is about 0.5% buy down for the life of the loan. So while you went from 7 to 6.5% because the seller bought down that 0.5 point or that 0.5% by buying down a point, you might only be saving yourself $50 a payment or $100 a payment, but you're doing that times 12 times 30. So $200 a month. It's $2,400 for year 1 that you save yourself, and then $1,200. So it's $3,600 you would save yourself by doing a 2-1 buy down over the course of your loan, right?
I see. But you would be focused on like actually paying what the payment would be.
Correct.
10%.
Because
in that example.
In a 2-1 buy down, if I know you're trying to get out in 7 years, that allows you to pay a little bit more equity down in the first couple years because those first couple years of correct, because you're so interest heavy on the first part of your mortgage that doing a 2-1 buy down, if you're staying for 7 years, let's do a 2-1 buy down. You're not staying the whole term of your loan. Right? So the other 23 years that you're saving that $50 a year doesn't matter. If this is your forever house, right? We just sold your first house and this is the house that you're planning on raising your kids and you're going to be in here for 20 years. Well, at that point, a 2-1 buy down doesn't make sense, in my opinion, because you're there for a much longer period of time. You want to spread that savings out because $100 a month over 3 years pays the 2-1 buy down, but if you continue to save that 100 over the other 17 that you're there, all of a sudden now either A, you're paying more principal down every month because you pay the original payment despite the buy down, right? So you pay your mortgage off faster that way, or you have a lesser payment.
Okay, so the next question that we have, can a landlord sell a home during an active lease?
Yes, the end.
How does that work? Because like I know you can sell it. Generally, what I see is like the landlord gets tired, they sell the property, and then the tenants, they just basically inform them, hey, we're selling the house. You have X amount of time to vacate or whatever that looks like.
So they're supposed to follow the lease.
Correct.
So if you'll see when you look in the FMLS, and I assume that other MLSs are similar, if you are
multiple listing service.
Yes, sorry. If you are selling a home with a tenant in it, it should be sold on the investment part of the site, right? Whether it's a single family, a duplex, or whatever. And when you are in that listing, they're supposed to put the rent roll information. How much rent, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and what are the remaining terms on the lease. Because as the new landlord, as the new owner of that property, unless the lease gives the landlord an out, you are supposed to honor the terms. And so as a tenant, a lot of times we think, we'll see tenants be like, oh, we're not going to let anybody in. You can be evicted for that. That's breaking your lease because a good landlord should have terms in their lease that within reasonable notice, they can come in.
I see. Got it.
Therefore, buyers should be able to come in to view the property. The landlord does have to work by law with the tenant on showings. So that means as a tenant, you guys could come up with, okay, these are the times that I will be out of the house. Or if you've got a great tenant, hopefully the tenant's working with you. We're going to let you know when a buyer wants to look at it. We expect you to have the home sell ready, show ready, and all of those things. And so the answer is absolutely 100% a home can be sold. The lease is supposed to be honored, right, through the term of the lease, whatever that looks like. I looked at a house the other day and it was like 11 months left on the lease. Like, why would you sign? Why not just kick the tenant out? Right? Like, why not remove the tenant? It's way easier because as a seller, a lot of times you end up taking less because there's a tenant in it, right? The investor, and I know that people think, oh, somebody wants a tenant. They've been there for 15 years. They've done all these things.
Yeah, but they didn't screen that tenant.
And there you go.
I'm walking into a brand new situation. It's like, how do I know he just didn't like you? Or she just didn't like you? Or they just didn't like you?
There you go, right? The duplex.
Now David then came in and it's like, You, David.
Correct. And another thing, these long tenants, when you're selling these houses as a landlord, a lot of times your long-term tenants, they're not paying market rate.
Oh, no.
I mean,
because usually people are scared to go up on the rent.
Yeah,
anyway.
like go up on your tenant's rent. That's
so
what
it's
happens.
like you come in and you're charging them $600 for rent.
Yeah, I doubt
It's like, the neighbor's charging like $1,500. What are you doing?
Yes. So, yes, you can sell a home with a tenant in it. Tenants, if your landlord is telling you they are selling, they have every legal right. They have every legal right to sell that home. If you become a pain in the ass as a tenant, you may become evicted. Right? Because...
Which then just makes it easier, because then it's...
30 days you're gone, or 60 days you're gone, and I can get the house cleaned up, do whatever it is I need to do, and probably net more.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like a lot of landlords are like, oh my God, I don't want the house to be empty because I don't want to not have a tenant in there because I don't want to have the rent. Oh, you're losing more by having the tenant in the house. Get the tenant out, paint, do the floors, clean up the house, and sell your house. Don't hold on to the $100,000 equity, right? List it right and sell your house. But yes, you can actually sell a home with a tenant. Tenant may be upset. You will, as a landlord, always make more money unless you just have some fabulous, wonderful tenant who looks like a seller and the buyers can't actually tell it's a tenant in there.
Right. Sometimes I have been recommending this to people, but sometimes the tenant will take it.
Yes. So if you
them an option, and if you have the option to sell or finance it to them, sometimes you can net a little bit more.
Well, it's a great owner finance. Is, in my opinion, I've got a client who is wrapped up in an owner finance transaction right now. He's on year 2. I think he's got to buy it out in 5.
Right.
But the owner, he negotiated that before I was involved in the contract.
Oh, wow.
They thought they were going to... His brother lives in this neighborhood or owns a house in this neighborhood, and he wanted a house. It's a condo and by the lake, and
story.
Like, it's a whole story, right? And so there was one that was going to go for sale, and of course the brother knew the person selling, and they were like, oh, my brother wants to buy, and my parents might want to buy, so like, the whole family wants to be in whatever, have vacation homes here. And so the deal was put together before I was brought in. He overpaid for the property, and he overpaid in interest, in my opinion. But that's okay. We're cash flowing every month.
That's good.
Yeah, I've got it rented out. And we're cash flowing as if it would have been a normal loan. Right now it's a 5-year loan with a big payment and then a big balloon payment at the end. But part of the reason he did that, and a lot of times, like for landlords, if you're thinking about owner financing, do an owner finance where the person's in the house for maybe 3 to 5 years with a balloon payment at the end of it, because it's easier for that tenant a lot of times to purchase the home from you.
Right.
And you be the bank, and then for them to get refinancing on the house.
Right.
Refinancing is super easy.
Right.
Right?
Because you have the house.
You have the house. You have the collateral. You've already proven to the bank that you can make the payments. Like, it's a lot easier.
Right.
And so it's a great way, if you are a tenant and you know that your landlord is thinking about selling, it's a great way to maybe weasel your way in there. I have a tenant that I am hoping will purchase one of the houses when we get ready to sell it. I like the tenants a lot, and I don't think they'll ever get themselves financially in a position to purchase a home. I think they have the ability to.
Right.
I think a lot of us live paycheck to paycheck and don't know how to change our habits.
Right.
And I think that's their biggest problem, is they don't know how to change their spending habits and their saving habits and how they're managing all of their funds and their money, because what they're paying for rent is a lot. And I know what they're going to be paying for rent in 10 years and 20 years, and it's going to be a lot more. Right? And if they were to buy this house from my client in, say, maybe 3 years, because at that point it'll probably be about time to sell, because we'll be that 6 to 7 year time frame for him.
Right.
I would love to see them buy, and I would love to help him negotiate the deal where they are able to purchase this property. Right? But who knows?
Sweet. Well, that about wraps us up for today's episode. As always, if you thought this was helpful and or entertaining, hit the heart, drop a note below. And if you have a question for a real estate professional or a real estate investor, drop a note below, and we will get to it on an upcoming video.
Peace.
Peace.
This is light work. Come on, spill the tea. Yeah.